Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Kerbal Space Program, where we are now ready to do Apollo 10, the dress rehearsal. Fantastic. So we're going to hop into the VAB here, and we're going to load up the previous Apollo 9 capsule that we made, although I believe we made some adjustments to it. Let's see here. We already saved it as Apollo 10. Phenomenal. So yeah, there have been some adjustments. Oh boy, this is very janky. We certainly need some science. We're gonna get some from this flight, though. This will likely be a two-parter, and we are going to, I think, just straight up launch this. We are ready to go, I believe. Let's double check the staging here, make sure that's all good. That's all fine. Yes. Yes. What is this decoupler? Yes. Okay, yep, that all looks phenomenal. So we'll save and launch this. We want to make sure that we have jet build up. Now, technically, we probably should bring a second pilot, but I'm going to bring an engineer just in case we need to do some, like, strut work or moving around some parts, in case we want to do, like, additional recovery or something. I don't know if we're actually going to do that, but for the time being, we're going to do something like this. So we're going to save this, and we're going to launch it. And we're going to need to take this out into relatively high lunar orbit, and then we're going to drop the LAM down into low lunar orbit. I want to do a couple of evaluations on thrust to weight and on fuel amount in the LAM while we are in that lunar orbit. So that'll be fine. Let's just get ourselves into a decent trajectory here. So SAS on, throttle up, and off we go in our really janky Saturn V. We'll get there. Hopefully, this mission will get us the science that we need to upgrade to our Block 3 Saturn V. If it doesn't, certainly Apollo 11 will. That'll get us a lot of science. So, fingers crossed on that one. Just in general, the rest of the Apollo program from here on out, 13 notwithstanding, the rest of the Apollo program is going to be pretty good for us for the science. So that's great. Also, this fairing could really use some work. It's a little wonky, but that's okay. We'll get that upgraded along with everything else. So we're at about a 10, almost 10. Wow, our apoapsis feels really low here for our current speed. Now it's a 10-kilometer apoapsis. I don't know. I haven't been paying close attention to that. That's probably to do, well, our thrust to weight is normal. We're kind of heading off in the wrong direction here, though. We want to kill our horizontal speed and start getting some horizontal speed in an easterly direction rather than a westerly direction. So at this point, I want to just head directly over towards the horizon. Of course, with how stable this rocket is, it's a little bit complicated to get this thing turning. No doubt about that. At least at this altitude. We've got a lot of air resistance. It's a very long rocket, but it is a very stable one, so that is a good sign. Yeah, we can see our apoapsis height is already reasonably high. I want to be transitioning into full horizontal speed at this point. So something along the lines of this. Cool. How long of burn time do we have left in our first stage here? 10 seconds. Looks good. So we're going to get a decent amount of speed out of that, just hitting space there. Phenomenal. And second stage. Let's go. At this point, we can definitely ditch our fairing and save a little bit of fuel here. We're going to push this up to probably a 100-kilometer orbit. And that'll be fine. So we're going to be... The LAM here is going to be interesting in how this actually works. This will have to be reworked for later Apollo flights, especially once we have the rover. I'm not sure how they packed that thing in. We'll have to take a look at that. That'll be interesting. But for now, our main priority is just on having this be functional. And then we'll upgrade it to a Block 3. And then we'll think about the LAM upgrades. So that'll be fine for the time being. We do need a fair amount more horizontal speed. We're currently only at about 1,700 meters per second orbital. Obviously, we need about 500 more. And we'll have that about the time we hit an apoapsis height of 100, I bet. We're also about to hit space here, so really we're not burning that long inefficiently here. That's good. There we go. We're now in space. So our thrust to weight, or rather, I should say our specific impulse, is much better now that we're properly in space. Continuing to be burning directly at the horizon here, not directly at prograde, because I do want pure horizontal speed. Cool. And we can see our time to apoapsis is actually still going down, which is mildly remarkable. At these speeds, I'm slightly surprised by that, but it's going to be going up very, very soon. So we're not going to be hitting the apoapsis anytime soon. We don't need to get an additional altitude burn. With the LAM module on here, this is definitely interesting. Okay, I just realized a problem. It's not a problem for this flight, because this is the dress rehearsal flight. But we never actually put those engines back on here. So there's no ascent engines on this thing. For now, we would have to run it off of this Terrier for the ascent engine. To be clear, that's not a problem. Next flight is our landing flight. So we don't actually need ascent engines here. And hopefully we'll have the science to get twitches after this flight. We'll see how much science we have. Almost certainly not enough to do everything we want. We want 2.5 meter fairings. We want to get like 3.5 meter tanks. It's going to be a whole thing. A whole thing. So we're virtually up to orbital velocity now. Our apoapsis height is still chilling at about 89 kilometers right now. That'll definitely make 100 very shortly. This feels a little slower than usual, though. And I think the reason for that is because of the LAM. The LAM is definitely a little heavier than our previous payloads have been. So there we go, there's 100 kilometers, and we definitely have some space junk up here. We can definitely filter that out. Okay, looks good. At the apoapsis, we're going to do a prograde burn and just circularize that on out. About like so. And let's aim ourselves towards that. That'll be in about 6 minutes here, so we'll just get positioned. And there we go. Off we go. Phenomenal. So we've got like 4205 meters per second in this thing. That's plenty. The goal here is for this to get us into lunar orbit, and then this is our return fuel. This is what we use to get around in lunar orbit and land and such. So that's the idea. This is not perfectly ideal. Okay. There we go. Lined up a little bit better, and 30 seconds, 20, 10, and 3, 2, 1, 0 mark. And there we go. We are circularized, or very close to it. Actually, that's a really solid circularization there. 0.0001 eccentricity. I like it. Inclination's a little off, but that's fine. We don't care. So we're going to head on off to the moon next, of course. And we are going to add a maneuver here. Probably just feeling this out by gut. Yeah, this looks like a decent lunar encounter here. Very solid. Let's bring that down to about 500 kilometers. Actually, I don't know what the command module orbited at in reality. I should look that up. Give me 1 second here. So the command module Columbia orbited at what? This is for Apollo 11. The Wikipedia page does not say. Okay, that is not particularly helpful. Lunar mission profile, perhaps that will say. So, if we hop on over here, we can see the profile here, and this is basically what we're doing, right? You've got the launch, the translunar injection, transpositioning and docking, and then extraction, lunar orbit insertion. So this is 110 by 310 kilometer orbit, which is then circularized at 60 nautical miles. Oh boy. Okay, so the question then becomes, what is 60 nautical miles in kilometers? 111 kilometers. Okay, we're going to call it 110. That'll be fine. So then we're going to grab our maneuver here. If I can grab it. Apparently I can't. There we go. We're going to grab the maneuver and bring this on down to 110, 111, somewhere around there is what we're angling for. And it was circularized. So that seems fine. Yeah, that looks good right there. Beautiful. So let's get into turning position here for this burn. This burn is going to be in about 20 minutes. That seems absolutely fine. Okay, let's warp on forward. So this will be about an orbit before we're ready to launch into this burn. And it'll be an 836 meter per second burn, so we're going to have a lot of spare fuel here. There's no doubt about that. We'll probably be leaving this in orbit of the moon after we circularize it, or, well, before we come home, probably. And we would come home entirely on the command module. So, like, before we do these operations, we would separate this out, is what I would expect. We've got 40 seconds until our burn here. 30, 20, 10, and 3, 2, 1, 0, mark. Okay. Nice and rigid for physics warp. I like it. So we can physics warp the burn, which is good because it's like a 2-minute burn. Minute and a half now, with another 500 meters per second to go. Hello, moon. We are on our way, but we're not going to land quite yet, which is good because we don't have ascent engines. That's definitely a thing that we don't have right now, but that's fine. The fuel is what's heavy, so that's mostly what matters. We are going to chase this node just a little bit here. We've drifted off on our, perhaps, inclination a bit. Hang on. Inclination is going up. No, now it's going down. Okay. Yeah, we did drift off on our inclination a little bit. That's okay. This is probably good enough. Let's take a look. This is currently... We're going to need a little bit more on the prograde. That's fine. We'll just bring this in without a maneuver. Cool. 150, 140, 130, 120, and 110. That'll do. So once we reach this periapsis, we are, of course, going to... Is this low orbit? I mean, we have our high orbit science already. That we have unlocked anyway. So I don't think 110 is considered low orbit over the moon. I think it's like 50 kilometers for the moon. So that'll be fine. We're going to line up for that. That'll be in about a day. And we'll do our braking burn there. So we're still going to have left over close to like 750 meters per second in this stage. That is so much fuel. Okay. So that's basically the same amount of fuel left over that we have in our C7 brand adapter here for our command module. So that's definitely fascinating. We could consider cutting down this stage a little bit. To be clear, we consolidated 2 stages together. We could unconsolidate them, but I mostly did that for aesthetic reasons. Because we didn't have a vacuum-optimized engine that fit this size. Oh, we're trying to go to prograde. No wonder this feels weird. Okay, let's head on around. This poor singular... Actually, dual reaction wheels. We have 2 reaction wheels on this, but it's a little heavy for that, for sure. This is close enough, and we're going to position here, zoning into the sphere of influence of the moon now. There we go. We've got our in-space highs here, and yeah, this is all in-space high. We can actually grab this and reset that. That would be fine. We would want to collect that in one of these modules here, most likely. Actually, it wouldn't... No, it would matter, because we'd want to move out of this experiment storage unit and into this one. Because we're going to be leaving this all here, right? So that'll be mildly awkward for us. Okay, well, we're going to complete our circularization burn here first. That'll be in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Hang on. We're going the wrong way. Okay. Bring it on down. Phenomenal. It'll be a little bit wonky on the inclination because we were going to prograde, but that's fine. No problem whatsoever here. And we are indeed in space high. We're now officially in orbit. And this once again feels like low thrust to weight. It's 4.75 though. It's not actually that low, but that'll do. Phenomenal. So that gets us in a reasonable orbit here, a reasonable approximation of our target orbit. Next, we're going to grab our mystery goo observation and material study from high here. Hang on. I reset that. I didn't intend to do that. We're going to grab both of these. We're going to keep that experiment. And we're going to open up our service bay. We're going to collect that data here. Now, it was awkwardly enough this mystery goo. Okay, well, that's fine, I suppose. We're going to have Bob EVA, or actually, we collected the data over here, right? Yes, we're going to have Bob EVA, and he is going to head on off over this direction. We definitely need to reset this mystery goo experiment. There we go. And we're going to hop on over this way. And I'm going to reset this Science Junior as well. I'm not sure if we actually need more data from it. Let's see. We can get an additional material study here. So I'm going to conduct that material study, and that means that Bob should EVA and go grab that to store it in the capsule. So over we go here. There we go. We'll collect this data and restore that. And then we could grab it one more time. This Science Junior is never going to be in low orbit, right? So at this point, we could definitely just grab it and store it here. We'll conduct that material study. It looks like we don't require additional mystery goo observation, but we can certainly grab ourselves our 3 material studies here. We'll close those doors, and at this point, we need to be transferring Jeb over to here, over to the LAM, and we also need to transfer Bob over to the LAM. They're going to detach. We should also probably get rid of this fuel at this time. So I'm going to do that. We're going to detach here. So we're going to undock. And we're going to keep these guys together here. Did that actually undock? It did. It's just extremely slow. Got it. Let's get ourselves a little bit of speed here. There we go. That'll do. So, now we need to dip down to 15 kilometers. And looking at our delta V here, this really should be sufficient. It really should be. So we're going to hop on over here. Are we enabling crossfeed through here right now? No, we are not. Okay, noted. So this is basically, for right now, a backup fuel tank. Cool. So we're going to drop this on down. This engine is not active. We should activate the engine. We're going to drop this on down to a 15-kilometer orbit at this point. So that's 16 and 15. Cool. So we're heading down to a 15-kilometer orbit. We are going to circularize there because we are, of course, aborting our landing. We are not actually going to go for the landing. This is a dress rehearsal here. We're going to do something along the lines of this and circularize there, and we're just going to grab what science we can there. So that'll be absolutely fine for the moment. There we go, 48.4 meters per second. Yeah, we should be completely okay here. Checking in on our thrust to weight, 4.06. That seems fine. Well, wait, we do have an engine here. I'm dumb. We do have an ascent engine. We put this carrier on. For some reason, I was thinking that was a fuel tank. It's not. It's definitely not a fuel tank. Let's stop our warp here. We're going to send Bob out to grab an EVA report. And we're going to grab all of our data here. We're going to need to do some data resets for sure. But I want to grab all of that for the moment. We're going to collect all of this data. And we have 45 seconds until our circularization burn. So 30 seconds, 20. Bob's going to hop on out to grab an EVA report from the Highlands. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Mark. Okay. We can see our periapsis dropped slightly below 15 kilometers. That's reasonable. Yeah, I'm going to call this good. That's very, very close to both being 15. So now Bob is going to have to EVA, although we should make sure that all of this data is collected. Bob's going to EVA, and we are going to reset this data over here. Cool. So we'll restore the Mystery Goo Containment Unit and observe it. We're going to restore the Radial Science Junior. We'll collect this data and restore, and conduct this material study. We'll observe the Mystery Goo again, and we're going to collect this data and restore. And then we'll do the Science Junior again. Phenomenal. And then we'll head back in. Cool. So that should be all of the data that we can store except for EVA reports. And EVA reports are pretty valuable. They're worth 24 science each. So we definitely want to warp around and get what science we can. So I'm going to add a maneuver here just to mark where we are in our orbit. And we're going to head on around, stopping time warp anytime we have a new location here. So we're just trying to grab all of the in-space near science that we can, is our current goal. Hello, Earth. Kerbal. Lowlands. We'll EVA and grab that. What else do we have? Midlands, Highlands, Midlands, Lowlands, Midlands. Yeah, we have all of these. Are we going to get some craters? Yes. So we'll EVA here. Beautiful. We know that we've got our node in another half hour here, so we've got a decent amount of orbit to do. Midlands craters. Yeah, EVA and grab. Beautiful. Each of these is worth 24 science, and that is huge for us right now. Anything else on this trajectory? Potentially. 20 minutes left in our orbit. Nothing so far. We already had Midland craters, apparently. Probably got that on the way in. Ah, East Farside crater. Grab it. Cool. So that all looks good. What else can we get? Well, it looks like that's it. Okay. So there's possibly some other biomes that we would get if we just kept orbiting. We're not going to do that, though. We're going to set Apollo 10 command module as our target, and we're going to need to rendezvous with that. So we're going to position ourselves somewhere around here. Looks pretty good. Okay, that's 3.4 kilometers apart. I think that's 3.2, about the best we're going to get. That's good enough. That is certainly good enough. So we're going to position ourselves over here for that burn. Ooh, overshot. There we go. So we'll position ourselves approximately here. It would help if SAS was on. There we go. And this is going to be about another 30-minute warp. We'll see if we get another EVA report, but I kind of doubt it. Even if we do, we're on auto warp, so we might end up missing it. It doesn't really matter all that much, though. So 2 minutes, 1 minute, and there we go. So we're going to be over on prograde. We're going to warp a little further forward, about 20 seconds, 10, and 3, 2, 1, 0, mark. Cool. So let's push that right on out. This is probably good enough. Yeah, 1.4 kilometer separation. That's better than anticipated. I like it. So we're coming in this direction here. We should start doing corrective burns probably somewhere around here. So we're going to warp on up. And then we're going to have to harvest all of this science, right? So that's going to be interesting. We'll see how we can handle that. That is, of course, the purpose behind having all of those storage compartments. So that'll be okay for the time being. We want to go into our target mode. There we go. Doesn't look like we need that much correction. Like, honestly, this looks pretty good correction-wise. We can position ourselves about here and do a small corrective burn. But it really doesn't need much. So let's head on over to retrograde. I'm not sure where the command... Oh, there's the command module. 8.6 kilometers away. I like it. So we're going to warp forward a little further here to about here. About another minute ahead. And we can do a corrective burn here. But this is looking good. Yeah, we're definitely going to need to push this node. We push the retrograde node. So we'll push the retrograde node here a bit, get ourselves a correction. There we go. We'll probably need more corrections on the way. We're still coming in at 43 meters per second, so that's still a little speedy. Let's warp ahead about 20 seconds or so. Okay. So that's looking good. We'll do a corrective burn, not that way. We need to push the node. Corrective burn out over here. Cool, that'll do. 36.5 meters per second. We should probably be bringing this down a little bit at this point. We're coming in a little bit fast, I feel like. So we're down to 30 meters per second. And 20. 15. 10. Okay, that'll do for the moment. And we're going to just do... Nope, we're pushing. We're going to head up over here. Very small corrective burns. Okay. Now this thing is still facing the wrong direction right now. We're going to have to get it turned around. Or overshoot it. That would work too. But we're just going to turn it around here. So let's bring this to a full stop. There we go. And we're going to turn around over here. There we go. And we'll get the other turned around as well. But it is time to put a cut in here. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. And next episode, we're going to get this docking situation dealt with. Not like that's going to be particularly complex from here. It's just line it up and push them together, right? But we'll get that done next episode, and we'll bring these guys on home after transferring all of that science. And we'll see what we can do for our upgrades for Apollo 11. You can leave your offerings to the engagement gods in the form of likes, comments, subscribes, and bell ringings, and a very special thank you to all of the channel members for making this video possible, including ALS Gamer, Shadow Wolf, Andy McGar, Spartan News, Nick Smarty, Dimitri H, Punching the Microphone, Soccerman12UK, Kentogan, and all the rest. And of course, you. Thank you for watching. If you'd like to support the channel, you can click the join button down below the video, and as always, I will see you all next time.